What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm your host, Brad, joined by my co-host, Carrie.
What's up?
You know, even though we took a week off, there's not 2 weeks worth of news, I would say, but the stories that are there are kind of big stories. Yeah, pretty big stories, which we'll get to later in the show. We also have a tidy post office edition this week as well, which we'll also get to later. Let's take care of the housekeeping first, though. Don't forget to join our Discord at densepixels.com/fans, where you can talk to us and chat with other listeners of the show as well. There's always some fun conversations happening in there. Of course, you can also follow the podcast both on YouTube at youtube.com/densepixels, but also wherever pods are caught. All you have to do is go to your podcast app of choice, search for TNP Studios, and you will find us, Their Apocalypse, Black and Black Cinema, and look forward. And if you'd like to support us with zeal, go to densepixels.com/premium. Just $5 a month helps support the independent media that you love. So I've only really been playing one new game this week because I beat Bonanza, which I think I mentioned on the last time we recorded. And I'm going through the post game in that.
Okay.
But I took.
What did you think of like the finale of that game? Like
the end of the main part?
Yeah.
It was a cool surprise. I'm glad that wasn't spoiled. For those that aren't aware, I'm not going to spoil it here. If you care about such things, that you can find out what happens at the end of Donkey Kong Bonanza. But it was kind of out of left field, but a very cool thing for Nintendo to do. And I think I mentioned this last time we recorded too. Like, I actually did the last boss fight wrong. Like, it took probably 3 times as long as it needed to because I wasn't engaging with the mechanics in the boss fight because I didn't realize that you could punch back some of the larger.
Oh yeah.
So I was just
Timing
dodging
on those
and then wailing
become
on them.
really tricky though. Like even with like punching those things back at him, it does still take a while.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but no, but it was fun. The last 2 like worlds or zones were really neat. I thought the way that they kind of had this laid out, even though they put an unfortunate soft lock in the second to last area where you needed a certain amount of gold.
Oh yeah.
And I had spent a bunch leading up to that, so like I was.
Here's the thing. I was able to get past a lot of that just by using certain Bonanza modes to get to the kind of next area.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's one of these things of like you do, but you don't. You can actually get past some of those soft blocks.
Well, I will say,
if you leverage the right forms.
I will say, and I wish I had thought of this, but I thought about it after the fact. If you get to that part, and you'll know it because, like I said, a certain character will say, hey, like, you need X amount of gold to be able to move forward, and you might not have it. Check your smashing stats, because I forgot that you get, like, gold bonuses from achieving those, and, like, it's not something you're checking all the time, so if you have a lot of bonuses piled up, you might get several thousand just from popping in there and looking at that as well. So, great game. Like I said, it's going to be right up there at the end of the year. It's going to be a pretty tough choice for me between that and Expedition 33. And who knows what else may still come out before the end of the year. But I played so much Donkey Kong in such a compressed amount of time that I had to take a little break. And I've once again fucked myself by finding a game that caters to things that I like, that is a massive time suck. That now I really enjoy playing this massive time suck game. So funny story. Obviously, I would imagine most people listening, if not everybody listening, is at least familiar with the SimCity franchise, kind of the OG originator of management games. Obviously, city building games. It was kind of the pioneer for that back in the day. It was kind of the name in that space. Incredibly popular. On top of the world. And then because EA did EA things after they bought Maxis Entertainment, who were the developers of the SimCity franchise.
God, SimCity 2013.
Yeah, SimCity 2013, the reboot. EA famously fumbled the bag.
Very bad.
Yeah, very badly by requiring online in a single player game, and then on launch day the servers couldn't handle the load, so basically players couldn't play the game for the first 2 days. And also the game just wasn't an evolution of the franchise that the fans wanted, because there's a 10-year gap between SimCity 4 and then the SimCity, the 2013 SimCity.
Yeah, it was like a soft reboot, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
But weirdly enough, this small city building game from a studio called Colossal Order was just nicely positioned to kind of pick up the ball. And with City Skylines, which came out in 2015, that kind of became like the de facto city builder game, kind of taking SimCity's crowd. And City Skylines is a great game that was supported for 8 years with expansions. It's published by Paradox Interactive. Those that are familiar with Paradox games know that, you know, they put like the amount of expansions they put out for Paradox games would put like The Sims to shame. And that's like every Paradox game gets that level of support, especially if it's one of the big ones, which City Skylines certainly was. And then ironically, in late 2023, Colossal Order released City Skylines 2, which itself has been kind of a fucking boondoggle of a launch.
Kind of like a pretty mid reviews, I would say, like 6 and 7s out of 10 mostly.
Well, and
terms
still
of the
is
review
to
scores.
this day, like 18 months on, they still haven't released a major expansion pack for the game. There's still lots of technical issues with the game.
There was supposed to be like a PlayStation and Xbox
console release hasn't happened yet.
Those got canceled.
Not canceled, but just indefinitely postponed. So
let's be real here.
No, they will put it out on there eventually, but it's just it should have happened by now. So I've been interested to check out City Skylines, but like I'm like, do I want to play this game like City Skylines 1 that is not going to be supported with new content, but there's a whole lot of shit there, but it's the older version, or do I want to kind of wade into the morass of City Skylines 2, even though it's kind of in a weird state right now? And then City Skylines 1 went on sale for like $10. So I'm like, all right, fine. Like, well, you know, we'll pay $10. We'll give this a roll. And it's fucking great. It's fucking awesome. It is so fun to just kind of plan out your little city and build your road networks. And it does the SimCity thing where it's like there's certain buildings that you do place specifically, like special buildings, but for the most part, like instead of placing down like homes and residences, like you just zone certain areas for them, and they automatically pop up as people move into your city. And you know, throughout the game, like there's little milestones that you hit that will unlock new mechanics. That way they're not overwhelming you with everything right out of the gate. And as you grow your city larger, you get access to more and more of the game, and you can buy more and more of the map to kind of expand it out and to make take your bustling, like 2 road, 1 stop sign town that you start the game with into like a big metropolis over a number of hours. And it's very fun. Like it's obvious why this game kind of took the crown. And even the first one, like obviously like playing a game that has, 8 years worth of patches and refinements and, additions to even the vanilla experience and stuff like that is kind of a good place to be. In terms of that, because you don't have to wade through potential bugs and glitches, and there's a ton of guides and help out there on the internet for people that have played this game for a long time. There's a shitload of mods that are available, both from like a content and a quality of life standpoint, to kind of smooth out some of the rougher edges that are in the game, which is also pretty nifty. So yeah, I found another game that I'm going to dump dozens and dozens and maybe hundreds of hours into at some point. But now, like, I'm kind of in between, like, do I want to invest into City Skylines 1, or do I want to just hold with vanilla and wait until 2, gets its act together, which hopefully should be, I would hope, soon, because for fuck's sake, it's been 18 months since the game came out. But, like, every time I see something from those devs, it's like they're holding on for fucking dear life right now, trying to keep the game, from falling down as they're trying to build the stuff up around it. It's just wild how, again, like, they have this blueprint of success and somehow managed to boondoggle it. And you know, part of that is like it's the it's the difficulty of releasing like a Destiny 3, right? Like a lot of people are just like, hey, after 8 years of Destiny 2, how can you basically like how can you make everyone start back from square one again when
Yeah.
they have all this stuff and all this content and they have all their weapons and armor and loot that they've gotten and all these things, and you're just gonna kind of take it back to zero again. And some people like that, but a lot of people that have been like, well, why would I switch over to this new game where I'm starting from nothing when I have this other game here that all my shit is here, so I don't have to worry about that. And that's how like City Skylines was such a well supported release, that there were a lot of people that it felt jarring to go from the original with all this content to two, which has like just the bare necessities again, without a lot of the things that one has as well. So that's also a difficulty for that as well. But City Skyline is great. Apparently, the console edition is also pretty good if you're interested in checking that out. But the original one is still probably the way to go with this until two becomes the game that people kind of want it to be, and who knows how long that'll take. So we'll see. They're supposedly releasing the first expansion later this year. It was supposed to come out late last year, but alas, they're still trying to build the plane while it's flying, as the old adage goes. So,
I have not really played anything new because I had Mag West a couple weeks ago, so I was in prep for that. That was super fun time. Both my bands played. And then for basically the last week and a half, I've been in crunch mode on a game. So I know I've brought this up before, but my partner Ian and I are contributing music to an upcoming indie game called Toho Farming, Mina Rico's Homestead Harvest, which is a it is a Toho fan game. So if you're familiar with Toho, which has been around for a long, long time, the creator of Toho, Zune, almost treats the property as open source, where as long as you are operating within guidelines that he puts out, you are allowed to make fan content and monetize it. So this is a Toho flavored Stardew Valley, essentially. There's a lot going on in this game, a lot of fun, different mini games. I've really enjoyed the previews of like the mining mini game that's in there and whatnot. But we've got 9 completely finished tracks for the game, including a lot of the seasonal themes, and then stuff that you'll hear kind of in conversations with different characters, and some of the shop themes. We are also doing the title theme, which is really exciting. So yeah, it is again Toho Farming, Mina Rico's Homestead Harvest. It is being put out by Studio Hexi, which is a one-man dev team. Early access on Steam starts on September 5th. There'll be a little bit of playtest before that, but it does enter early access at that point. And then I believe the game's only supposed to cost like $10. So please head on Steam and wishlist the game. If you like Toho, there's going to be an adventure mode that has the bullet hell stuff that you know and love from the mainline Toho franchise. And if you're just in it for cozy farm time, then there's a lot of that. So I'm looking forward to play testing this myself. It feels very surreal to know that like I'm going to be able to play a game that my music is in. So that's pretty exciting. Um, so we will be continuing to add music and whatnot during the early access period as well, just because it's a lot of music that needs to be done, and there's has only been so much time, not just for us, but for the other 2 musicians who are contributing to the soundtrack. So by the time the full game is done and rolled out, you know, the soundtrack will be complete, of course, but there is a lot of by-score Toho rearrangements in the early access version as well. So please wishlist the game. Please buy it when it's out in early access. This is very much a labor of love for pretty much everybody involved. I'm a long time Toho fan and a long time Farming Sim fan, so this has been a really nice like crossing of two of my primary gaming food groups, basically. So yeah, that's really all I've been working on. I've been playing a little bit of the Rido HD that I talked about a couple weeks ago. Outside of that, but really it's just been kind of crunch mode on getting all this music done for the game.
That's very cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, look out for that on Steam for you PC owners. Is it available on itch as well, or just Steam right now?
I believe it's just Steam currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the news then. Like I said, not a lot of stories this week, but the stories that we do have are kind of substantial. Something we haven't really talked about on this show too terribly much, just through ignorance, so actually a little bit, is the fact that Microsoft is one of the companies that the BDS movement has targeted in recent months. For those that aren't aware, the BDS movement stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. It's a movement that seeks to kind of put curbs on Israeli like overreach and things that their government does by boycotting companies who support them with services and things of that nature as
Mm-hmm.
well. So obviously, Israel and Gaza have been locked in conflict for the past
Almost two.
almost 2 years now at this point. Yeah, I was going to say 18 months, but it's been actually a bit longer than that. With obviously a lot of really bad shit happening, especially on the Israeli side of the equation, with a lot of wholesale killing of women and children in the conflict, leveling of blocks and districts, and just kind of indiscriminate bombing campaigns and things of that nature.
60,000 people have been killed in the Israeli genocide against Palestine, including 18,000 children.
Yep.
So
it's something,
yeah.
something we talk about and look forward quite a bit for those of you that listen to both shows, so it will not be new news there. But the reason that Microsoft has landed in kind of the hot seat here as far as this goes is because they supply the Israeli military with their Azure cloud computing system, which is something the Israeli intelligence have been using for quite some time. And this has been going on since 2021, where basically Satya Nadella, who's Microsoft's CEO, met with Yossi Sariel, who used to lead the military surveillance agency of Israel. And basically Microsoft from that point forward created like a custom sub-segment of Azure specifically for the Israeli military to use. Now, Microsoft's kind of stance on this whole thing has been like, we provide technology to a lot of governments and a lot of, other areas and stuff like that. And look, we're just providing the technology. We don't know what they do with it. We don't know what goes on with it. But we're just providing a service just like we would with, with anybody else. And an article, report actually, that came from an Israeli Palestinian publication called 972 Magazine, and a Hebrew language outlet called The Local Call, have actually kind of outlined more specifics about the sort of things that the Israeli military has done with Microsoft's tools, and also Microsoft's knowledge of that, essentially. And some of the things that they would do is like they'd use the system to examine calls that were made near a specific target. Also, data that Microsoft has helped them compile has been used to blackmail people, detain them, or justify killing after the fact. And this even precludes the current war that's going on that started in late 2023. And the thing that kind of underscores Microsoft's really poor excuse of like, hey, like we're just we're just providing the tools, like we're not dictating what's going on, is that the tools they're providing have been like kind of custom built to the exact specifications that the Israeli military sort of needs in order to carry out some of these operations. And you come to find out that a lot of the people that Microsoft has hired to work on this specific project that work for Microsoft are former members of the Mossad, which is the Israeli like special forces who are basically there to make sure that the system is designed in the specific ways that are needed to make it the most effective for the Israeli military that it can be. And so this kind of again puts Microsoft in a position where it's kind of hard to kind of hand wave these things away and be like, hey,
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
know what's going on and all this stuff.
Well, especially as the article outlines, like there are internal documents that were leaked where apparently Microsoft believes that this partnership wouldn't just bring in hundreds of millions in revenue, but that it was a quote, incredibly powerful brand moment for the Azure platform.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Like,
Yeah, it's a really shitty way to kind of describe that. And
it's
so
just like, it's the idea of like, giving someone a gun and then being like, well, I didn't know what they were going to do with the gun. It's just like, obviously they were going to do this. Like, this was
right.
obviously what they were going to do with it. You can't just fucking hand wave this shit away.
Well, it's essentially the people, you know, that it's the same people that are like, oh, guns don't kill people, people kill people, kind of bullshit that to stand in the way of gun
Yeah.
laws. It's just like, yeah, but you're allowing these people to design these systems that are custom made for this thing they're doing. And even if, as I heard this pointed out in another podcast, even if like Microsoft's contribution is not specifically going towards like the killing of women and children and that kind of stuff, it does help free up other resources inside of the military, Israeli military, that they can focus on, other things like that they would have to otherwise
Mhm.
dedicate more resources to intelligence gathering and computing and things of that nature that Microsoft is helping them out with. So the BDS movement has been encouraging customers not just to boycott Microsoft products in general, but they're not stupid enough to think that like you can't tell someone, hey, like stop using Windows. Like that, it doesn't fucking work that way. Like if you have a regular PC, chances are it's got Windows on it. It's ingrained in the OS. It'd be kind of unreasonable to be like, hey, unless you want to support genocide in Israel or in Gaza, you have to go buy a Mac. Like, no, I'm not gonna fucking do that, obviously. But
No.
you can hit them with optional purchases, and they've specifically called out boycotting things like Game Pass and uninstalling games that are Microsoft published, like Minecraft, like Call of Duty, like Candy Crush, and things of that nature, and
Mhm.
not buying Xbox hardware. And interestingly, last week we saw for the first time some noise coming from inside of Microsoft itself. Well, I shouldn't say that because there have been employee protests at a lot of the events that Microsoft has done
Yeah.
about this. But on the Xbox side specifically, we saw the STJV Union of Arkane Studios publish an open letter that was addressed not only to their parent studio but to Microsoft in general, that is demanding that Microsoft takes responsibility and puts an end to its complicity in the Israeli government's genocide of Palestinians. Um, Basically, the letter says like, hey, like we want to, we're following the call to boycott Xbox products because you're and part of the thing that they talk about is obviously like they talk about the fact that the suffering of the Palestinian people is paramount, but you're also putting your developers and your other divisions kind of in harm's way of sorts by leading with this shitty behavior from the corporate level. Like you kind of force them to bear the brunt of the punishment because of the things that you're doing right now in turn, with what you're doing over there. Like the domino effect is going to topple down to other areas in the company, and Arkane Studios being one of them, as they're owned by Bethesda, who is owned by Microsoft.
Mhm.
So I totally understand where they're coming from. I'll quote from the letter where they say, quote, in a more direct manner, we think this could very well affect our life directly by reducing the audience for our games, thus directly compromising the viability of Xbox games and in the long run of our very own jobs. And that's an excellent point, and why I wish more people inside these companies who have the security and who have the ability to do so would move to speak out about this stuff. Like, it would be great. I mean, it'll never fucking happen, but it would be amazing if like a Phil Spencer could come out publicly and be like, yeah, like I'm not really comfortable with the fact that, you know, we as a company, as Microsoft, are involved in this sort of thing. Now, again, he's not, because he's the head of the fucking games division, and he's not going to shit on his boss in that way. But I mean, this is a nice start, and I do hope that other developers inside of Microsoft Studios, especially those that are union protected, will follow the lead there and hopefully make their voices heard to speak out against this. It really stinks.
Yep.
So moving on from there, Nexon has stumbled forward into the next shitty thing that AI is doing, apparently. So they released a game earlier this year called The First Descendant. I don't know too much about it. I think it's a live service game of some kind. But again, it's one of those, it seemed like a very, like, you know, insert Destiny clone kind of model, open world survival aspect. Like, you know the game, right? And so they ran a ad campaign on TikTok to promote the game that had a number of video game streamers kind of talking about and selling the merits of the First Descendant in what looked like a paid partnership. And there's a Reddit user who compiled a lot of these ads together. And when you watch them, it is very obvious that Nexon used generative AI here to make the streamers look like and say things that they didn't actually say, to the point where Daniel the Demon, one of the streamers who was featured in one of these ads, literally came out and said, hey, I had nothing to do with this, and they used my likeness and my voice, except it didn't really sound like him at all.
Yeah.
Without my permission, basically. Boy, this is gross.
So here's the fun thing about not just the United States, but most countries, is that there's something called personality rights, also known as the right to publicity. And what these rights, whether they are enshrined as like a statute or a tort or recognized as common law, is that no one has the right to use your likeness, whether that be your name, your voice, your face, to basically do something where it looks like you have endorsed something, for example, without your consent. And that's exactly what this is, right? Is this company used generative AI to deep fake these streamers into essentially endorsing their game without their consent, and really without their knowledge, it seems. It wasn't even that they were asked, they said no, they did it anyway, but they didn't even fucking ask. So good luck with the inevitable lawsuit that comes of this.
I was about to say, like, what the fuck do you think is gonna happen?
This is an open and shut case. There have been numerous examples of you know, I mean, there have been examples in this within video games, like before, as far as like EA got into hot water about 15 years ago by you know, allegedly using someone's likeness for I think it was one of the like NCAA games or something like that, to basically get around the NCAA rule at the time, which did not allow athletes to monetize themselves in that way. But look, I have studied a lot of media law because I have a master's degree in writing with a focus in journalism, which means I have to know this shit. And yeah, I don't know why not a single person at Nexon spoke up and said, hey, this is illegal, but
so
this is illegal.
Their mealy mouth excuse was that like users actually submitted this as part of like a TikTok creative challenge, which TikTok says is a creator monetization program that turns your creativity into cash by creating user-generated content style ads for your favorite brands, which seems, again, shitty. in the first place, I mean, I guess if you're making user generated content that's like not making someone appear to do or
Yeah.
say things they don't actually do, then that's fine in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's gonna be fucking shit because all AI slop fucking is. But if that's what
Is
TikTok wants on
it
their
is
platform, then more power to them. And
another reason why
Nexon,
I'm not on TikTok.
yeah, I mean that's I left after they kissed the president's ass, so that was enough for me there. Um, but basically, like, and Nexon like basically blamed everyone but themselves. They blamed users for submitting the content. They blamed TikTok's privacy checks for not catching it. And again, can you believe them? I don't fucking know. Like, does it? But it doesn't actually matter because again, this is just incredibly gross to me that something like this even happened. And I feel like that as this story gains notoriety, and especially if Nexon gets by without any kind of consequence, you might see this sort of thing become more widespread in the future, which would be real bad
Mm-hmm.
in general. And again, like for those that aren't aware, like inside baseball, like every time I submit a video of this podcast, like there's a box on YouTube that you have to check yes or no every time where it asks like, hey, is there any content in this video that makes someone appear to do or say something that they did not actually do or say? And
Mm-hmm.
I have to check that box as no every single time. Otherwise, that content gets flagged with a big like AI
Mm-hmm.
generated content banner that makes it really fucking hard to miss. So like the platforms know that this shit is out there. But like Carrie said, there has to be consequences. Otherwise, people are just going to keep trying to skirt the issue. And TikTok doesn't give a fuck because they're just looking to make money. Like that's all they
Yeah.
care about. They're also not going to change their practices unless they're held to some sort of account here. So I hope these streamers that were caught up in this do pursue legal action of some kind, and I hope that they're wildly successful and beat the shit out of whoever's responsible for this massive fuck up to happen. And final news story. Speaking of massive fuck ups,
let's talk about Marathon.
boy, Marathon is probably going to be a hot pile of garbage. So Marathon was originally supposed to come out in September, so like in a month's time or so. Sony and Bungie decided to move the game back to an indeterminate date in the wake of the Bungie might have stolen, or actually not might have, they basically fucking did steal art assets from a fan creator that made their way into the game's closed alpha that happened back in June.
Yep.
And so a lot of people have been wondering, like, well, when do we think we're going to see Marathon? Well, Lin Tao, who was Sony's chief financial officer, was on an earnings call last week, and they said that Marathon will certainly release within the current fiscal year, which for those that don't know, runs until the end of March in 2026. The quote from Lin Tao, first about Marathon, how we factored it into the forecast. We expected the launch to happen within the fiscal year, but having said that, this is not a commitment. No official announcement has been given yet. Boy, it's always bad news when companies are always mentioning things making it within the fiscal year, because it sure does seem like that they're going to do everything they can to get this thing out to make whatever money they can from it on this year's earnings, so that they don't have to carry this burden into next year. And when you do that, especially with games like this that are live service and require a lot of infrastructure and things of that nature, they tend to come out a little undercooked when they release.
To put it politely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little underseasoned. Yeah, no, this is going to be a hot mess. Good luck to everybody at Bungie. Look, can't wait to talk about the fucking layoffs that come in the wake of this game's ultimately disastrous launch.
Well, not only
year.
that, but Sony also recently announced, I can't remember how long ago this was, but it wasn't that long ago, that they were basically assuming operational control of Bungie, just because of how the studio's been run since it's been in the Sony portfolio, which is something that people feared when Sony first bought them, and especially kind of in the wake of the trials and tribulations of Destiny since the game released, and then of course what's been happening with it during the marathon development. But the funny thing is, when that news was announced, it was met largely with like relief from a lot of the Bungie fans that I saw online, as opposed to like the rancorous anger that you might expect a studio like Bungie losing their independence would generate.
Yeah.
So I think everyone kind of realizes that like the Bungie of old, like if you weren't dead certain that it was absolutely gone, like there's no doubt, I think at this point, that it is
it is
much a different studio than it was.
Dead and buried at this point. Yes.
Yeah. So again, all the best for Marathon. It seems like we've talked about it on the show before at length. It seems like the answer to a question that nobody asked.
Yeah.
Which is the best way I can describe it. It's like, oh, we got to get an extraction shooter in the console space, and it's just like, but I don't think console gamers have been like clamoring for an extraction shooter. Like that's not like
No.
if you care about that shit, you're probably playing Tarkov. Like that's kind of just the reality of the situation. Or you're playing Arc Raiders, which is a game that's coming out I think later this year, that had their beta around the time that Marathon had their alpha, and for as negative as everybody was about their experiences playing Marathon, the reaction to Arc Raiders was almost like universally positive across the board, and that's a game that's fighting in the same space that Marathon is going to be. So I don't like their chances. It would be cool to be able to see Bungie kind of get back to doing what they do best, not burdened by the 10-year commitments of a Destiny at this point, and not trying to chase trends with a new genre that is kind of a niche thing. So that'll do it for the news. We will move into the post office, where you can ask us questions that we'll answer on the show at densepixels.com/fans. Film Wanderer says, impossible, but fuck it. Name one nice thing Rare under Microsoft has done. So here's...
I don't think it's impossible.
No, it's certainly not impossible.
Pretty easy.
Well, I can name a couple things, actually. So, our Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which...
Much better game than anybody
it's
gave
given
it
credit
for.
for.
When it came out.
Yep. It was kind of the precursor to Tears of the Kingdom in some ways.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Also, despite Terrence's misgivings about the early experience, apparently Sea of Thieves has come around to be quite a nice little game.
Already took the two I was going to say.
Yeah.
Which was, but yeah, like Sea of Thieves is a game that I want to try getting into now, honestly, because of the fact that like I heard the launch was kind of mid, and then they basically pulled a No Man's Sky and they fixed the shit out of the game with a ton of free updates in the year post launch, and now it's apparently really good. So I have kind of wanted to play that for a hot second now. So
yeah. So I mean, it's and again, not that it's been fucking sunshine and rainbow for Rare under Microsoft.
No,
certainly they were in the wilderness for quite some time. I actually just watched the video, kind of a retrospective on Perfect Dark Zero over the weekend, and I did not realize how much of a fucking flaming trash heap that game was.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's certainly hasn't been a great ride for them, but I think for those that
it doesn't help that
Microsoft
has canceled so many of their fucking plans.
Well, that's another problem too, is they've been hampered in a lot of ways by Microsoft, but we don't know what Everwild was going to be, but
Viva Pinata was good.
I mean, there's a lot of people that really like Viva Pinata. I'm not going to be a staunch Viva Pinata defender, but
I don't hate Viva Pinata, but like it's fun. Yeah. Look, I'm trying to think of like everything that they've had that have been like, canceled within the last decade. So it's like Everwild, Soul Catcher, a Banjo-Kazooie kart game was planned and canceled. Tailwind, a GoldenEye remake. Like they have had They have Cameo 2 was canceled. Like there have been a lot of games that maybe could have been great, but we'll never know because they were all canceled in the earlier production stages. So Everwild in particular, I think really stinks because that's something that was in development since 2014,
Mm-hmm.
revealed in 2019, and then canceled like
Yep.
last year.
And,
So
and caused a lot of longtime folks in the studio to finally be like, "Fuck it, I'm out of
fuck
here."
it. Yeah.
like I'm not dealing with this anymore. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, like, I mean, we just talked about Bungie, yet another tale of a game studio kind of forced to get out of their wheelhouse and to
Yeah.
move into like a live service sort of mentality, and they made the most out of it. It just kind of goes under the radar because it's a game that has a smaller like following, but still a very committed following for the people that do actually play Sea of Thieves. From what I understand,
Mhm.
it's among the most played games on the PlayStation right now
Yeah.
every week. So I mean,
Nuts.
take that for what it's worth.
Mhm.
Cam says Cody Raheem Rhodes has the flat top.
Mhm.
Does this raise your interest level in the movie at all? He's referring to a post that Cody Rhodes made on his Instagram, where you can see his shadow cast, I guess, on the lot of the studio where they're filming Street Fighter, and he does indeed have a flat top, where I guess he is going to do some scenes as Guile. Look, I think it's cool that they have the flat top in the game. I mean, that was obviously the first and immediate thing that people noticed about the '94 Street Fighter movie when Jean-Claude Van Damme was cast, and he's like, I'm just gonna have like a shaved head, basically, almost, and this
Yeah.
is gonna be what it is. Um, I I was talking about this with Jay and Jack earlier today. This movie is probably gonna be a train wreck. I just hope that it's an entertaining train wreck. Like, I hope
Yeah.
it's bad in a fun way. I don't think it's good. I
Yeah.
don't think there's
I
a
don't think
chance
it's
in hell
gonna
it's
be
gonna
good.
be
I
good.
just want it to be
Yeah.
fun. Like I'm
Like
not
that,
expecting cinema, but I expect a worthwhile popcorn movie.
my fear is that they're gonna take it. It's gonna be taken too seriously by the actors and the director,
Mm.
and that's gonna be make it not fun. Like the thing about '94 Street Fighter is that it was a serious film, but it had some very like winks and nods to the viewer, and
Yeah.
it was very kind of loosey goosey, and that's what made it fun. That's why that movie is still very watchable today. Anthony asks, when was the last time you took time off work to play a video game? The last one that I remember putting PTO in for, I'm sure I've done it since then. Weirdly, Deathloop, I was really excited to play, if you all remember. And so I took off the day that Deathloop came out and played that for 8
Wow.
hours. Yeah.
Okay. Um Man, I honestly can't remember. I feel like the last time I like requested a day off for a video game was before I was like working a full-time salary job. Um no, maybe it was while I was working at Gemstone.
Yeah.
I just couldn't tell you. Maybe probably like a Pokemon game. Let's be serious.
See, the problem for me is that since my career before my current job was at GameStop, like, I could never request off for those big release
Right, because you had
days
to work
because I
all
had
the
to work on them.
releases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to wait
Uh,
until you got home later that day. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Deathloop was the
and
only
then
one I
for
can recall.
most of the last 5 years up until like last week, I've been working either hybrid or fully remote. So it wasn't like I like needed to take time off. You know what? Endwalker. When Endwalker came out for Final Fantasy 14, I did take the day off for that. So that it's that.
There you go. So yeah, that's the other thing too. When you are remote, it is a little easier to sneak in, especially if it's a slow day. You can sneak in.
No, yeah, exactly. You just be
some
like, all right,
time
cool. I
there.
made my meetings. I've responded to my emails. Time to
Yeah, like
time to game.
I'll keep one monitor here just to keep an eye to
Hmm.
make sure nothing catches on fire, and the other one will be
Oh yeah.
dedicated to some other stuff. So, C. Kent says, growing up, was there something you thought that was normal and everyone did, but as you got older, you realized the opposite? For me, I thought everyone kept their Dominoes in Crown Royal bags, and black people only smoked Newports. So this is kind of like saying, like, what are some embarrassing things that your family did that nobody else does, that you didn't realize were weird when you were growing up as a kid. So I'm trying to think of what a good example would be.
Yeah, I saw this question come in and I was like, I don't know.
But here's the problem, like, because it's never weird to you.
Right.
Now, I can
But
think of things that are weird that other people did, that friends of mine did. Like, for example, I had a friend who, when we were roommates, was constantly running out of towels, like bath towels, like to dry themselves off out of the shower with every week, and he would be. And I remember I had to use his shower because we had two bathrooms and he used one shower and I used the other. I had to use his shower for some reason. And I forgot to bring a towel with me, and I was like, "Hey, do you have an extra towel?" He's like, "No, I'm all out of towels." I'm like, "Well, that's fucking annoying." So I got to run. Like, well, don't look, I'm gonna run naked into my my bathroom to grab a fucking towel. But I was like, Why don't you have any towels, extra towels available? He's like, "Well, I've used them all." And I'm like, "What do you mean you've used them all?" He's like, "Well, they've all been used." And I'm like, "Well, you just went to your mom's like last week to do laundry. Like, how are you through all of your towels already?" And he used a new towel every day was the thing. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, yeah, like use a towel and then like you put it on the floor and now it's dirty and you gotta wash it. I'm just like, no, dude. It's like you hang it up on the towel rack and it dries and you can use it again. And he's like, what are you talking about? And you're like, bro, like you just let the towel dry. You can use the towel again to fucking dry yourself off, and you can do that for like a week before you have to change like the towel, and then you put a new towel up and you wash the other towel. It's like, what the fuck do you mean you're grabbing a new towel out of the closet every day? It's like, yeah, I'm grabbing a new towel every day, and I just leave the other one on the floor. I was like you're at a fucking hotel. It's like you have a housekeeper in here that's coming through that I'm not aware of. It's like, holy shit, man. So like that's one where I was just like, what the fuck? Like how you grow up in your life and you're just like, oh, like I'm using a fresh towel every day.
yeah, I I think maybe for me it was, looking back, probably the age at which my parents just let me be by myself in public. It's probably not normal. Like I
Well,
was being dropped off at the mall at like 8,
oh, that is pretty young. I was gonna
8 or
say like,
9.
oh, it's
Yeah.
that is a little young. How like were you ever a latchkey kid growing up? Because I was.
Uh, I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood where like my house was on the corner and then there were like a bunch of townhouses behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood that were either my grade or within a year or two. So there was a lot of, go outside, like go play with your friends or whatever, but like you better be on your way home when the street lights come on.
Mm-hmm.
Without really, like, it wasn't like my parents were leaving me at home or leaving me alone, you know, all the time, but like there was a lot of like, oh yeah, like go around the corner and play with, whoever, and then, when the street lights come on, like that's when you need to be on your way home.
Yeah.
But I was only ever like a 2-minute walk from home. So.
Well, it's funny. So even as young as, how old was I when I started doing latchkey shit? I think in sixth grade I basically started being allowed to walk home from school, and I had my own key for the house, and I would just go home and stay home. And then during the summertime, like I think that was the same year that we didn't have to go to camp anymore, and I would just chill at the house while my mom went to work.
I mean,
all day.
like, I think the difference is that like neither of my parents ever worked like a regular 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
like
true.
my dad was home a lot during the day, but my dad was a broadcaster. So he was doing a lot of like evening drive or late night kind of sports talk stuff. So a lot of times, like I remember he was working for WTEM, and I think it was like he had this like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. talk show on TEM. And so it's like he wasn't leaving the house until after dinner.
Mhm.
So it's like I would come home from school, and a lot of times both my parents would be home because my mom worked part-time until my sister was old enough. And my dad had a wacky like broadcast journalist schedule. Um so I mean, yeah, it wasn't like I was essentially like coming home from school to an empty house all the time, really, until I was like in high school and my dad had more regular daytime hours and my mom was back working at the dialysis unit full time at that point.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did have a lot of independence growing up. But it wasn't like, you know, I didn't have to like come home from elementary school and like have to feed myself
Yeah.
or anything
Well,
like
it's just
that.
I just look at it because my son is around the age now that I was when I started having a bit more autonomy to stay at home by myself and all that other kind of thing. And even if he was neurotypical, I still think that I might feel kind of weird about him. I mean, maybe not. Like obviously, like if
Yeah.
things were different, he might just be his own dude and able to kind of just cope with those things at this point. But it's just kind of funny looking back to be like, man, like if this is the age that I was when I just started
Right. I mean,
doing shit
again,
on
I
my
think of
own. So
how my parents would just like drop my ass off at fucking Owings Mills Mall to play Pokemon cards a couple times a week when I was like nine,
yeah, that's that's
9
that's
years
nut
old.
that's nuts to me. Like nine
That's
nine seems
nuts
like
to me to
super
think
young.
about. And it was just like, don't do anything stupid. We'll see you in 2 hours. And then like nothing bad ever happened. So I guess it was fine. But like, I've got, soon to be stepkids who are 12 and 7. And like even the 12-year-old, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know about leaving this kid alone. So yeah, I think that's just more it than anything else. It's just the age at which I was just kind of like left to my own devices and
Yeah.
trusted not to fuck around. So
Let's see. Final question is from T Wash. What game do you feel like would be better if it wasn't open world? Forspoken to me would have been better if it were linear. Um, I mean, this is not a hard question to kind of. There's so many open world games that are open world, despite the fact that they'd be better served. Like I think, like literally half the games that Ubisoft comes out with,
oh
like
yeah.
imagine like some of the earlier. I mean, even the current Assassin's Creed games. Like, what if those were more open zone instead of like open world and a little bit more focused um, on more designed
Yeah.
spaces? Like that would be fucking huge. Same thing for like a Far Cry. I feel like could be like Far Cry to me could live in a similar vein as like a Wolfenstein.
Oh
If Far
yeah.
Cry was a little bit more focused. A lot of developers, and again, like this is another problem of the game industry writ large, is that things get popular and then publishers kind of expect developers to copy trends. It's not like this is a new thing with live service. This has been happening since like the mid 90s when like the shift to 3D was like, all right, well, everyone's got to develop in 3D now, even though there were several studios that were not cut out. They didn't have the resources or the talent to make 3D quality, 3D space games. But because the industry shifted to 3D and because Mario 64 came out and was a huge success, well, now we got to have our 3D platformer. We got to have our 3D adventure game. We have to have our 3D, this, that, or the other. And open world was probably the second big bastion of that trend. Is that Grand Theft Auto
Yeah.
3 came out, was a mega success, and everyone's like, what about open world? And so you had a lot of like knockoffs and clones that were open world for the sake of it, trying to copy off GTA, or a lot of games that had a very focused narrative story but told it through the guise of an open world game and had a lot of bullshit that you had to wade through as well. The thing for me about open world is if you're going to have an open world, the world has to have like a purpose. Like
Yeah.
the world almost has to be like a character
Mm-hmm.
in the game alongside of the protagonist and antagonist and stuff like that. Ghost of Tsushima is a great example of this, where that area of Japan that you explore throughout the game feels as essential to the game as any of the characters do. in the game. And so there are many. So that's why I say there are many games that are open world that really do not need to be, that would be better off if they were
not. I'm just going to agree with you. There's, I think, basically like any Ubisoft open world could probably just be open zone rather than open world. So I also like open world games, so I'm probably not the best judge of character on that.
But. And see, I typically hate them because, again, like there's a lot of sprawl and a lot of bullshit for not a lot of reward, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, see, the difference between you and me, Brad, is I like to hit a pre-roll and play Elder Scrolls, and you don't. So
that's true.
I like to like lean back and just be like, sick.
But you know what though? Even though I personally am not a fan of their games, Elder Scrolls the world is
characters.
Yeah, like feels as important. The world doesn't feel random in Elder Scrolls. Like things feel like intentionally.
Except in Daggerfall, but yes.
Yeah, like things feel intentionally placed and crafted, and you know, it's not like they're using procedural generation to create this space. Like the developers have an intent behind the things that they're doing in Elder Scrolls. So
yeah,
that's the difference. Intent is the difference. Like that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of developers that don't know how to design a good open world.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Cool. Well, that's it for the post office. Thank you all for submitting your questions. Bit of a shorter show this week, but that's okay because, like I said, the news was light, and the games related. Trust me, next week will be the complete opposite because I did not realize Gamescom is this week and opening night live is tomorrow. So we'll have all sorts of
Gamescom is this week. There's a 45-minute Kirby Direct happening this week. Like,
look, I gotta tell you, we are not going to be talking for very long about whatever they show, unless Johnny's hypothesis is correct, and they're going to sneak in like some new Smash Brothers announcement into this Direct as well.
It is Nintendo giving Sakurai a platform to talk about shit he actually wants to talk about, which is just Kirby. Side note from me, another music plug. My band Byscore had an album come out like a week and a half ago. It's called Out in Front. It's on Bandcamp. You can buy it digitally for $10, or you can get a compact disc, which not only includes 4 additional tracks to bring the total track amount on the CD to 19. Almost hit the maximum amount of music you can put on a single CD. But we also send like some little shitnacks along with it. So maybe you might get a button. Might get some stickers. Who knows? But look, lot of tunes you might know, like Snake Man from Mega Man 3 is on there, and you got some Final Fantasy 7 on there, and then you've got shit like the weirdest version of Terran 1 from StarCraft you're ever going to hear in your life, and the title theme from RoboCop for the Game Boy, and some Pokemon Snap and a bunch of other shit. I'm really proud of the work we did, so please pick it up. I'm very happy with it. Thank you for the support so far.
I will quickly say I'm not plugging anything here except for my newsletter, mindswept.club, which you can check out and sign up for free. Speaking of video game music, after you purchase Byscore's latest album and listen to that, on randomly, I heard the soundtrack for Super Spy Hunter for the NES recently, and that soundtrack fucking rips. Yeah. So if you've never heard the soundtrack for Super Spy Hunter, go seek that out. It's very good.
There's a lot of interesting little gems from the NES and especially the SNES era, but NES has some hidden bangers for sure. Also, if you're in Baltimore, I'm playing in Baltimore on Saturday at BitGen Gamerfest. It's the largest one-day video game music festival on planet Earth, allegedly. My Hades band is playing, so come see Premium Vintage play a 35-minute set of very difficult prog metal after I take a fucking red eye out to do it. I'm gonna be so tired, and then I fly back home the next day. I'm not really sure why I do this to myself, but yeah, if you like Hades music and you're in Baltimore, come see us. Yeah, it's mostly.
So All right, y'all. Thank you all very much for watching and listening.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. We'll see you all the next time.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.